Hello and good day, Algebra. Continuing our way through POFitty-Five, Part 1. We talked about the first two forms of a parabola and how to solve for the x-intercepts, basically what values for x make the equation equal 0. The third form is when all three terms are present. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay? And the method that we're going to use here is factoring, which is straight out of PO49 and PO50. So if you remember how to do those two things, this is no different. If you don't remember how to do those two things, then here you get some more practice with it. Okay, but the methods factoring and kind of your quirk for this type is that you will either get 0, 1, or 2 solutions. So not super helpful because it could be anything, and that's where really knowing how to factor something is important. So let's start with y equals x squared plus 9x plus 20. Without that coefficient to x squared, this goes back to PO49, which in that type, we're really only focused on the factors of 20 that add or subtract to equal 9. And what are they? Erica. Okay, so our parentheses, x plus 5, x plus 4. And since this, I'm going to move it to the left a little bit here. Since this equation equals 0, we're looking for the values for x that make our two expressions equal to 0. What value for x makes x plus 5 equal 0? Negative 5. Negative 5 plus 5 equals 0. What value for x makes x plus 4 equal 0? Negative 4. Negative 4 plus 4 equals 0. And you're done, right? This is the extra credit part of the test that you could have gotten when we factored PO49 and PO50. You were doing this. You just didn't realize it, but now you do. So there you go. Might be a weight off some of your shoulders if you remember how to do this. Okay. The next one, also a coefficient of 1 in that x squared term. So we're focusing on the 40. What are factors of 40? That add or subtract to give you negative 3. Those magic numbers, factors of 40 or negative 40, but you can assign the signs later on. That add or subtract to give you a negative 3. Emily? 8 and 5. Which one's got the negative? Which one's got the positive? 8's got the negative. So x minus 8 and x plus 5 is how you'd factor that. All right, negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. Negative 8 times 5 is negative 40. And once we're in this form, once we factored it, what value for x makes x minus 8 equal 0? Noah? Positive 8. And what value for x makes x plus 5 equal 0? Still negative 5, just like in the last one. And there we have it. Okay. Those are the locations where this parabola will cross the x-axis. Then we look at the last one, and we see it does have a coefficient, that x squared term. So now this is back to PO50, where we have that 7-step process. Okay. Step 1 being factor out the greatest common factor, which there isn't one, so we can skip that. And we can go straight to steps 2 and 3, which is where we're looking for multiply a and c together, two numbers that multiply to make negative 60, and those same two numbers add or subtract to give us positive 11. So factors of 60 that add or subtract to give us positive 11. What do you come up with? Olivia? Negative 4 and 15. Right? So now we start to set this up. We got our two sets of parentheses. Both of them get what? What term do we start both sets of parentheses with? 6x, that ax term. And then one of them gets the negative 4. The other one gets the positive 15. Now we look to see what we can simplify, because starting them both with a 6x doesn't give us 6x squared when we FOIL the crab claw box. So we have to simplify to make this work out. So we can divide our first set of parentheses by 2 and divide our second set of parentheses by 3. And that gives us 3x minus 2 and 2x plus 5, which if we FOIL crab claw box this, we'll get exactly what we had to start with. Okay, I'm going through this fairly quickly because, kind of like I said, this is something that we have done before. So the steps are here if you need more practice with it. But the test went quite well for several of you, so I think we're in a pretty good place. And then what are our values for x here? What value for x makes this set of parentheses equal to 0? Either use the shortcut or use the mathematical way. Set the equation equal to 0 and solve. Alex? Positive 2/3. And what value for x makes the second set of parentheses equal to 0? Swicky? Negative 5 halves, or negative 5 over 2. Okay. What would it mean if you come across an equation in this form that is prime? What would it mean if you came across an equation in this form that is prime? Take a look. That one? That one's yours? Don't see one lying around. Sorry. What would it mean if an equation such as this is prime, meaning you can't factor it? Does it mean it's not a parabola? No. Alex? It means it's the potential for a no solution parabola, or if it's not factorable, then we've got a method coming up in PO59 called the quadratic formula. I wrote a song about that. I did. It's to the tune of Wrecking Ball.
Sing it.
Came in like a wrecking ball. Use the quadratic formula. It works out. It's on the YouTube on my old channel. If you want, sir, I'll play it for you once we get to PO59. But anyway, so if it's prime, it's still a parabola. It's just not factorable. It could be no solution, or it could require a different method. But for right now, just know that it is still a parabola. It's just not factorable. Okay, and that's basically it. You now have all the tools that you need to solve for the x-intercepts for equations in these three forms for PO55. So your homework for tomorrow is going to be to finish PO55 part 2, and all of it. You only have 6 of them done. You have 18 left. Or so. I don't know. Maybe it's 12. I don't know. You got some left. But we'll go over it tomorrow. So, other questions on this? Okay. That is how you math.